And welcome back. In our efforts to help you get healthy, we continue with our Cancer Spotlight. This morning we have Rebecca McFalda, Genetic Counselor. Thank you for joining us this morning, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
So everybody has been, over the last couple of years, been hearing about genetics and breast cancer. Most predominantly, it was Angelina Jolie,
Sure.
making that choice when she heard she had genetically predisposed to having breast cancer. Explain how genetics handle and come into play with breast cancer.
Sure, and what we're looking for is the hereditary forms of cancer. So we're looking for genes that are passed through families that raise the risk of cancer. And so like Angelina Jolie has a BRCA mutation. That's sort of the most well known in the public eye. And what that does is it significantly increases your risk of mainly breast and ovarian cancer. But there are a few other cancers such as prostate and pancreatic that also go along with those genes. So if you're identified as having a high-risk mutation, there are different risk reduction or increased surveillance that you can do to try to mitigate those risks. So Angelina Jolie chose the bilateral mastectomy and to have her ovaries removed. Not everyone chooses a bilateral mastectomy. We can just do breast MRIs and mammograms starting at a younger age and just kind of tracking people more closely. There's a variety of options out there, and they're different depending on what gene we're talking about.
Okay,
So.
because I was going to say, it doesn't sound like it's something that, if you have this gene, it doesn't necessarily mean you will get that cancer, right?
It's not a guarantee. With some of these genes, like the BRCA genes, the risk is quite high. It's probably in the range of 85–90%.
Oh, wow.
Without taking those intervening steps. So there are things that we standardly do with women who test BRCA positive to bring those risks down to a much more manageable level. So that's where it's important to identify which of these families have these mutations, and then within a family, who has inherited it and who isn't, so we can get the right people on the most appropriate medical management plan to try to reduce that risk of them ever developing cancer.
Gotcha.
Or if cancer is going to develop it, we catch it as early as possible.
All right. Now, I know that there are a couple of websites that are out there that people can check out. You had sent a few of them to me. Let's take a look first at this facingourrisk.org. What kind of things can people find on this website?
That's a website with an amazing source of information. This website was initially designed as part of a national support organization. It was initially designed for BRCA carriers.
Okay.
We now test for a number of other hereditary breast cancer genes when we are looking for a hereditary form of cancer, and they're expanding into those other areas. But it goes through. It was designed for people who are already test positive, but now they have sections of people who are considering genetic testing or genetic counseling to give them things to think about or things to prepare for their appointment. Talks about all the different medical management options from different perspectives, and you can also get in touch with other families who've gone through similar decision-making processes and talk to other people and get sort of an insider's point of view as well.
And speaking of getting the counseling, you said this is a brand new website that's out there.
Yeah, the National Society of Genetic Counselors has created a website to try to get more information out to the public in terms of what is a genetic counselor. Most people, when I tell people what I do, I usually get a very funny look on people's faces saying, okay, now what is that?
Sure.
So it gives a little bit more information about what genetic counseling is, why someone would meet with a genetic counselor, and how to prepare for that appointment, what you need to know. In terms of the how much does it cost, we mentioned it's typically, it's a little bit different everywhere. Here it's billed as a regular doctor's visit. So it doesn't typically cost people anything more than what they would pay, typically their copay for a visit. The genetic testing, we always discuss that during the appointment. That's a different area.
Okay.
Genetic testing is usually covered by insurance as long as you meet specific criteria.
All right. Well, I know this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as all of it goes. If they have any questions, how can they get a hold of you?
The cancer program, the oncology office is where I'm located, and that number is 225-3922, and they can get a message to me. Or what I really recommend, if people have concerns about their family history, if they think they could be at increased risk for hereditary cancer, talk to their doctor and examine that a little further to decide if a referral to the clinic is warranted.
Gotcha. All right. I want to thank you so much for coming and joining us this morning.